Welcome back to Against the Grain Living. It's January 28th. I overdressed for today. I got up super early and made it up here. I've already done a bunch of stuff and it's 8 o'clock. The trees are melting. We had a lot of ice damage that I had to clean off the trail. But it is unseasonably warm. All last week it was a lot of rain, not much snow. Like even today is above zero even up here, which is ridiculous for trying to do what I'm trying to do. But I came to check on this. All the snow's been sliding off with the rain, which is good. I'll just shovel out the crusty stuff along the bottom. I got the tires on behind the snowmobile. I dragged them back in from where I ditched them last time, and it's packing fine, so I'm gonna run that in and out a couple times. And then I have a big white pine that I have a project for that I got to try to make my way over and down the trapper's cabin, which is sketchy terrain. There's a wind blowing it uprooted 3 years ago. I'm hoping it's been off the ground the whole time, so I'm hoping the wood's still good. It's a big tree, so I'm gonna try to get some big chunks of wood off of it and haul it around this winter in the snow. Anyway, my hauling days are going to be tricky up here because logging operations in the area, the direction that I come in, there's about 200 acres that they have scheduled to log, and the dozer takes that right down to dirt, so I'll have to wait for a day on the weekend when they're not operating, and I get a skip of snow to cover that nonsense up so I can haul in 2 or 3 critical loads. I guess the rest of it will happen next winter or through the summer with the ATVs. Anyway, they're definitely making the trail wider at the beginning of it. It's only maybe a kilometer that they're gonna widen out for me of the long journey in, but it'll still help in the future. I can maintain it. Anyway, Scandic and the tires, we're gonna pack in and out, and I might even pack a trail down to a lake that's nearby. Go check out the lake just to fill in some time today because there's not much I can do. I thought I was going to be doing a lot more shoveling, but they got the warm weather up here as well. Anyway, back to the Scandic stuff. I went around and re-cinched up all the ratchet straps around here, and the roof is sitting much nicer. It was all saggy before. Guess the material had stretched since being in a box, but looking better now. Hopefully it doesn't pool with all the rain on top. Well, we made it over to the trail that I used for getting into the trapper's cabin. I haven't gotten all the water. I have to go out that way today, and I'm sure it's going to be slushy. We do have the winch and probably 75 feet of straps. Let's hope we don't have to use it. Anyway, I remembered this being a little bit bigger, but it'll do. I hope it's been off the ground here. It's all uprooted. It was near, just behind the camera there, there's some of the biggest white pine I've ever seen, and I thought this was one of them, but it wasn't crazy big. I don't know what's the dimension of that thing. I don't know what size that is, 18 inches or something like that. It's not huge, but I'm gonna have the 6-inch Milwaukee and the hatchet and the shovel, and I'm gonna try to clean it up and assess to see if it's any good or not inside. There's some split roots on the other side that still look in deep shape, in good shape. There's no rot or anything in them, but hopefully it's good. I got a new toy that I'll show you here later in this video. 2 new toys actually, 3. Anyway, been spending some money, and we're gonna play with this tree and try to get some wide slabs anyway. So this is what we're working with. We got the snow cleaned off, I don't know, probably 26 feet or something like that. We drove the sled around all over the area to pack down some snow and set up a base so I can come in with probably the Pelican tub with all the tools, and then one of my carry-on toboggans for hauling out the finished material. Anyway, it's pretty straight. Some of the bark that was rubbed off when it fell from trees such as this, there's a little bit of soft spot on the outside, but for the most part, I think when I get in there and debark it all, it's gonna be fine. So looking down at here, I ended up just using the axe. There's a little hatchet for everything, so we're pretty straight. I'm gonna try to get slabs out of that down there. Just 8-foot stuff, I think, out of this. So maybe do 3 sections here. We'll leave the top. It won't be worth the efforts. But yeah, that's for the next time we come in with the new toys. Oh, welcome back to Against the Grain Living. We're down here at my parents' shop at the farm. Gonna use the welder again. We're working on a chainsaw mill. So I'm more or less copying Surviving Ringworm YouTube channel, his design, except I think he has like 12-foot rails or whatever. So I'm doing a set of 17s to get 16-foot lumber, and the other set there is 9 feet for 8-foot lumber. I had to come up with something in the middle. I don't know if it'll work yet or not, because you only support either end with his design, and 17-foot span. There's a little bit of shake in the middle, sag. It is 1/4 inch, 2x2 steel pipe, so it is, I think these are like 95 pounds, the 17-footers, so they're not light. But I welded up, I'm gonna weld up. I made a bunch of these just 16 gauge caps to keep all the snow and ice out of them, so I'm just gonna weld around those. So there's 8 of those to do. And then I gotta come up with, I think I have all the material prepped and the thought process there. I'm gonna have to trim some stuff when I get it on a log, I'm sure. You're gonna have to bear with me for capturing footage of this. My tripod is in holding the baby monitor in at the house, so right now the phone's clamped in the bench vise. So I don't know how much footage I'll be able to capture, but I'll try to explain what I'm doing here in the middle. And we'll see on Sunday if it works on a log or not. So I drew a couple circles on my trailer here. That's like a 9-inch, and that's like a 12 or a 13-inch, just representing a log. So if anyone's seen Surviving Ringworm, I still have to put the holes across the bottom, so I'm going to take his advice and put them every inch. And then the rails sitting there. So these get screwed into the end grain of the log and support these rails. So in the middle, I'm gonna be putting this flat plate, obviously a shorter screw because my bar is gonna be cutting through that. But I've drilled the hole already for a screw to go in at, say, the 8-foot mark. And I cut apart a couple cheap little C-clamps, and I'm gonna be welding those on this. So the point of these is they'll be in the middle. These will thread up, so these can spin on the bar. The problem is, so I grabbed 2 different sizes because I didn't know what would work. So these ones are going to be a little long because they're probably going to get into the log down here. But I prepped a couple little tabs, and I got, of course, these are metric thread, coarse thread, so I had to pick up some nuts. I want to put a jam nut on them before I assemble it all, so that you can thread it up to the pipe, and then lock the jam nut so the vibration of the saw doesn't loosen this off, and this will just support the middle of the bars so they don't sag. So I've pretty well got everything prepped to weld up here. Put these on, and I got nylon nuts, but I think the plastic will melt with even a little tack weld. Maybe we'll try a low heat setting and put a couple tabs on it, and then we'll have to put these back through wherever we might have to cut the threads off and drill a new hole, and then we'll just palm all over that so it can't fall out again, similar to this end. But that's what we're up to down here at the farm. Anyway, I got a couple little magnets. Get these. So so I cut them smaller than it. So I'm just gonna lay a bead right around the whole thing up, right on the end grain, and then clean them up. And I have everything here to paint all the pieces black, prevent it from rusting. There's the other half. So that was a 2-inch and a 2.5-inch seat that I cut up. Stole the pieces away. So I still have the stems to put in there, but I don't know if I'm gonna have to shorten these up and drill a new hole. But we welded little tabs on nuts so that they don't loosen off when the saw is running. I did weld them on the nylons, but they melted. They still might clean up and work, so I don't think these ones won't work, so we have spares if we need them. Anyway, we're gonna slap a coat of paint on everything while the fire's going, and I think I'm gonna drill a 5/16 hole every inch across the bottom, keeping it close to this bottom edge here without getting too thin. So I don't know, maybe leave a 1/4 inch of material and then put the holes all the way across on both sides, and then give everything paint, and we'll put her to the test this week. Well, we're into the property for the 3rd time this winter. February 16th, isn't that terrible? Every time we get a decent amount of snow, we have about 3 weeks thaw after, and we lose it all. So I've pretty well called hauling anything in this winter a loss, other than I came in to get one of my carry-on toboggans, and I put both saddles on it. Because what I am going to try to get out of the woods up here is that pine tree that I'm about to mill. So I need this to get the mill over there, and to get everything's going to be 8 foot, so I just need the one toboggan, because like I said, the trails are not good around here. Neither are the beaver ponds and swamps and beaver slides that I got to go over, so I don't want heavy loads. So yeah, we got this all sorted out. We got 3 trail cams. We're going to change some batteries and some SD cards, and we'll shovel it all off the coverall. Try to get back home in decent time to start working at some of this stuff. Anyway, what a terrible winter to be a snowmobiler. Well, here's some day-old moose tracks, but I saw 2 moose on the way in, just maybe a couple 100 yards that way, and fresh tracks are all up there. So they've been using my trails that I packed down. We'll get this cleaned off here. We're gonna measure the door to the tool shed too, and I'm gonna build that at home, just because it's so hard to get anything done up here. And then we'll just be able to fasten it on with the track next time we get up with it. So winter was a bust. I didn't get back into that pine tree with the sled or any of the setup. I actually been pretty busy and haven't even had a chance to play with any of it. So this is a really old MS-170 that was my dad's that I never returned. I used it enough that I split the bar that it came with, and I never purchased another bar because I had other saws. By Amazon debarking. We also got a good deal on a cash deal on a still 661, and it's set up in a 24-inch mill right now. So this is the first time I'm going to try the debarker and the mill. I got my rails and my homemade Alaska set up, so that'll be first time using it all. Well, that was the first pass. So I forgot the wedges to shove in so it's not sitting on the chain and the bar. But we'll learn. Anyway, we'll pull this all apart and see what it looks like. Forgot how heavy those were. And this one, I think I gotta do some grinding in this plate. And if I don't have the end of the log square, which it wasn't, these get window jammed in the holes. I'm gonna get this side out. Square it up. Should. So they're just screwed in with some 4-inch structural screws. Oh, I forgot to play with my middle plate. I wanted to see if that design was going to work. So I decided to play with this little, I don't know what it is, little over 4 foot length. So I had a tree uproot in a windstorm, and this was the stump that sprung back up when the root mass fell back down. So I went and cut this off, and I'm just going to make sawhorses for the rest of the tree that's sitting back there. It's in like 12 and 16 foot lengths. So I'm gonna, when I get the 16 foot rails on that, I'll have to see how that middle support design works. I should have just threw it up there before I tore it all apart. But anyway, now we just adjust that to desired thickness. So I'm just going to put it to 1.5 inches and take off a bunch of slabs, and then I'll rip them with the circular saw into 2x4s and build some sawhorses. I got most of the pieces from that little stem of a stump, and I got two other junk boards that were in the basement that I cut up. I've never built these before. But they seem pretty simple. I only have 3-inch pieces in for the high beam because one of those boards was 9 inches wide at the narrow, so it allowed allowed me to get another board, but then that's it right there, and I don't need it. So I should have just done 3.5 inches. There we go. Let's build the second one. Should oil the log, screw some blocks on there so they won't roll off. Well, we finished the sawhorses, so I think there's 4 logs in the woods, 12 feet and 16 feet, 2 each I think. So I'm going to try out my rails next video, my long rails, 17 footers, and figure out my center mechanism for supporting the rails. But it was pretty neat to be able to cut what would have been a junk piece of wood out of the forest from a windstorm and turn it into something. I had some other pieces from scraps around here, but had I had a bigger chunk of wood, I would have been able to make them start to finish. I added these little wedges on just so the logs won't roll off on me. But we're just going to set these off to the side. And next video will be some more milling, testing it out, learning it, and my setup that I would have ran into the woods with the Scandic. I put it all together, and then we lost all our snow. But I'll show you what I got for that, to be able to go into anywhere in Crown Land and try to get some wind-blown big lumber out of there and drag it over to the build site. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you next time.